Hello, hello, and welcome back to Infinite Roleplay. I am, of course, Nelson, and I feel compelled to share with you my first initial thoughts with Absolute Tabletop's CJakcs supplement that was recently released. Now, before I go saying the things I do, I don't want anyone to feel that I'm coming out of a place of negativity because I love the CJakcs. I was there since the very first interest post about a D&D 5th edition game with an Expendables feel. I was there for that. I even did the whole Dragon Grin map. So with that said, this is just my initial reviews on the CJakcs supplement. I have yet to get through the whole thing because I find myself paused on the boons. Everything up until the boons, the fluff, the artwork, everything is nice. But these boons, wow, there are quite a few of them. Sort of break normal balance, and I really think that is because of the lack of clarity in the mechanical writing. The way the mechanics for these boons are written. Let's see if I can. I'm gonna go right from the beginning. Gain let's see, damage multiple adjacent targets at once. No. There's a few ones here. Like, all right. One that's written really well and is really powerful is it's called Copper Kill Streak. If you reduce a creature to 0 hit points with a melee attack, you may immediately make an extra melee attack against another creature within reach. You cannot move before making this attack, and it must be made with the same weapon and attack bonus that dropped the previous creature. Now you can do this a number of times per round equal to your proficiency bonus. So, that being said, I like how it's tied to the proficiency bonus as a limiter, because as you increase in level, this ability scales. It remains relevant throughout gameplay. Now, this paired with maybe Heavy Weapon Master that allows you to do the same thing, but it costs a bonus action to make additional attack, could be a little bit insane. That coupled with another ability, let's see, that's not that bad. Copper Butcher? No, it's not the Copper Butcher. Now I'm gonna find it, because there's not all of them. Not all of the boons are bad, or I'm not gonna say bad, but not all of the boons are written in a way that is unclear. A lot of them are written in the way that I just read, which is very clear and very concise and very nice and very, very powerful. I made a post before stating that comparing the CJakcs supplement mechanically with the Convoker's supplement mechanically feels that the CJakcs are infinitely stronger than the Convokers. Now, according to the fluff, or my understanding of the fluff, granted those are two different worlds, but with my understanding of the fluff, the Convokers are supposed to be the very powerful badasses that they keep the peace, and despite their power, they're about squashing conflict, resolving conflict through non-aggressive means if possible. And the CJakcs are, they're like, you need something done, we'll get it done, regardless of what it takes. Conflict, fighting, death, explosions, motorcycles, the whole nine, the Expendables feel, right? And yet they're more powerful than these, like, Jedis out there. Let's see, okay, moving right along. Copper Skirmisher. This one, insane. You may add, the way it's written is a little bit just Bear with me. I'll read it word for word. You may add an additional half of your proficiency bonus, minimum 1, to your attack rolls. Now, I understand it. I extrapolate the meaning, perfectly fine, but it just feels like it's written weirdly to me. Rather than saying you may add a number to your attack bonus equal to half, or you may add an additional half of something, just something that doesn't sound as weird. It does. Maybe it's just the white drop shadow behind all the text. Reading the book is kind of hurting my eyes because of that. Oh, Copper Kill Zone, right? No, it's not Copper Kill Zone. Copper Sniper, Cut Reach, Enforcer, Executioner. That's alright. It's not great, but it's cool. Innovation, Mangler. Where is it? Copper Armor, Dodginess, Copper Endurance, Escapist, Fortitude, Resistance, Copper Medic, Copper Recovery, Copper Healer. You know, I can't seem to find it right now. There is a lot. There are a lot of boons to choose from, so that's a positive. You do have a greater sense of choice when making a Copper Jackal, especially when you consider that Copper Jackals get their boons, the Copper boons, and Convokers get their boons. Copper Jackals seem to have more. You know, that you can customize a Jackal to a greater degree than you can a Convoker. That's the way it feels to me. Copper Colossus, Copper Sacrifice, Copper Chow. No. Addition, Imminence, Memorization, Assailant Quickness, Eradication, Redirection. Did I skip it somehow? I'm bound to get to the next few that are written really oddly. I know I skipped this one, but there's one that allows you to use your boon to take... There's two of them. One allows you to take 2 non-damaging cantrips, and the other one allows you to take 2 damaging cantrips. Really cool. And it's worded perfectly fine. You get to choose 2 cantrips. When you make the choice, you choose an ability modifier that constitutes your spellcasting modifier for those cantrips, which is fine. I just wanted to mention those. Those are really nice. Copper Teleportation, Copper Flight. Copper Flight is pretty bananas. Your Jacobite allows you to achieve flight, granting you a fly speed equal to your movement speed for 10 minutes. You may use this ability a number of times, equal to your proficiency bonus per short or long rest. Bananas. Like, you can't fly for an extended amount of time, but think about gaining flight for a combat. And it's not based on concentration at all. You don't have to worry about getting hit and losing your concentration, or your mage getting hit, and then you falling X amount of feet from the sky. You gain your fly speed. If your land speed is 30 feet, you gain fly speed 30. Lasts for 10 minutes, which is more than enough for an entire encounter to take place. And you can use it a number of times between short rests equal to your proficiency bonus. Once again, scaling as you level. You know, increasing the number of times as you level. Being a level 10 Jackal, you can use it 4 separate times. So you can gain flight for 4 encounters or 4 moments in between your short rests. Awesome. That is bananas. I mean, think about that when in comparison to the Convoker's ability to cast Featherfall once per long rest, I think it was. There's no comparison. No comparison. Granted, Convokers get a Griffin, but just individually, ugh. It's insane. Copper Guardian. Okay, this is one that's written very, very oddly, very confusing, and depending on how you would interpret this, is completely not completely, but is fairly broken and imbalancing. Copper Guardian. Anyone adjacent to you gains a +1 to their AC. Anyone within 15 feet of you gains your Constitution modifier worth of temporary hit points. And anyone within 30 feet of you gains advantage on concentration checks. That's cool. However, these effects are cumulative. Now, there's no stipulation on when this happens. There's no stipulation on a maximum amount that can be gained. Normally, in the book, temporary hit points do not stack with one another. However, the Copper Boon states that these effects are cumulative. A +1 AC can be cumulative because it's very simple. There's no sort of negative to that in the book saying you can never get more than +1 AC. But even with that said, anyone fighting next to you gains a +1 AC that is cumulative. So with the idea that this is on a round by round, a turn by turn basis, every time you begin your turn, these effects tick and they add, right? So first turn of combat, you form a defensive line with your other CJakcs, one to the left, one to the right of you. They both gain +1 armor class. It's fine. That's not huge. But round 2, they gain an additional +1, increasing their armor class by 2. On the third round, they increase by 3, and so on and so forth. If your allies can survive for 4 rounds, they're basically wearing another suit of armor. Not to mention there's ways to increase your armor independently with boons as well. So if they have those boons, it's like they're untouchable. Meaning that you're the only one at risk, but played smartly, golly, just, it's insane. Now, with temporary hit points, if the fact that this Copper Boon states that these effects are cumulative, does that in turn mean that these temporary hit points stack with one another? And to what end? You know what I'm saying? Like, if I have a Constitution of 18, I have a modifier of +4. If they gain temporary hit points on a turn-by-turn basis, every time my turn begins, they gain 4 temporary hit points. That's not a lot, but then again, to what end? Does this happen on a turn-by-turn basis? Is this active at all times? Since this is a passive effect, is it always active? Do they gain these bonuses cumulatively throughout the day? I know you wouldn't think that, but it doesn't actually state that. So an argument can be made that that's the case, right? Do they gain 4 points of temporary hit points that are cumulative with one another every 6 seconds? So they gain 40 temporary hit points per minute, 240 temporary hit points per hour. That's like, you become unkillable. You just, we'll wait an hour before we go into combat. Go into combat starting with double or triple, or quadruple, depending on what level you take this as. It states that you have to be at least a level 8 to gain the benefits. So yeah, double or triple your hit points before battle. Simply by waiting an hour before battle? Or do you wait a day and does that explode? Like, what, besides allies being within that area, they gain these benefits. Do they lose these benefits if they exit the area? Meaning, they gain cumulatively temporary hit points as long as they're within 15 feet of you. If at any point an ally exits this 15-foot radius, or if the distance between you and that ally become greater than 15 feet, that ally loses all accumulated benefits. Meaning they lose the AC, they lose the temporary hit points. Advantage is never cumulative. You either have it or you don't. So there's not a question there. It doesn't specifically state that in the copper boon, so it's a little bit confusing. For me, it feels like it's entirely overpowered because it says anyone within this range, anyone within this range. Your character constitutes as being anyone, constitutes as being a creature, a character, someone within range of the effect, with the exception of the AC bonus, because you can never be adjacent to yourself. But everything else stacks, and the biggest thing I can think of right now is those temporary hit points, especially since this copper boon states that the effects are cumulative. Does that mean that it circumvents the standard rules for temporary hit points not stacking? If it does not, it's a lot more chill, a lot more relaxed. But then again, that +1 to AC every round to an adjacent ally, and it is cumulative, is bananas. You have a Copper Guardian and another CJakcs on either side of that Copper Guardian beginning combat. All you need is for those other two to hold their actions as move actions and just stay beside the Jackal that's the Copper Guardian. You have either of them take Sentinel, so that when the Copper Guardian is attacked by a creature, an enemy within a melee range, the two of them, boom, boom, use their reactions to get free attacks on that target. If they have Sentinel, you can give one of them or both of them the Defender fighting style, with the shield. So, you want to attack our Copper Guardian? Let's just give you disadvantage. Insane, right? Copper Guardian is freaking bananas. Let's see. There's another one. Another one or two that are pretty broken. Copper Shield isn't broken, but it's really cool. So is Copper Gauntlet. The two of them can be combined for additional effect. They both give you a +1 to your AC. So if you're a CJakcs that has Copper Shield, Copper Gauntlet, and you decide to take the Protector Feat, you're really a defensive bulwark. There's another one that allows you to basically get the benefits of a shield spell a limited amount of times per day. But let's see here. Not amphibious tripping. Oh, the weapon, the custom weapon boon. The custom weapon boon. You spend one of your copper boons to gain a custom weapon. This custom weapon is created by selecting 2 weapon traits. So you take one boon to get 2 traits. Now, any further boons that you take afterwards can give you an additional trait to your weapon. But simply the first copper boon you take to gain a custom weapon gives you 2 boons. Already, that's pretty bananas. I mean, not everything in here is crazy, like retrieval or illuminated. It's not crazy, but I'll get to the crazy thing in a second. Alright. Maiming. Maiming is really cool, really well written, but almost underpowered when compared to other things. If the other things that are overpowered or a little bit overwhelming are the intention, I think maiming should be increased. If maiming is the power level intention, I think the others should be reduced. Maiming, when you deal damage to a creature with a weapon, you basically stick your weapon into the creature and it's stuck. And then on your round, until the creature manages to pull it out, or you pull it out, or something happens and you lose your grip on your weapon, you can just wiggle your weapon and automatically deal your weapon's damage. Now, this automatic damage is just your weapon's dice. You add nothing to it. You don't add your ability modifier. You don't add nothing but your weapons dice. That's really cool, especially if you land an attack against an enemy that's been like a bear to try to hit. They have high AC or your rolls were bad. You stick an attack in them. You're like, oh, we're stuck in. We're just gonna do it. You know, that's really really cool. But that's it's broken in the fact that once you do it, you can stay stuck in forever. I just created a level 10 copper jackal with a 20 strength and an expertise in athletics, and the only way a target can remove your weapon from maiming them is to roll an opposed strength athletics check. Let's see a creature roll an opposed strength athletics check when your bonus is a 13. Insane. Charging, foe slaying. Okay, foe slaying. I understand the intention of foe slaying, but it's the wording that concerns me. It says, the user of this weapon may choose one type of creature. Aberrations, beasts, blah 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 blah. Whenever this weapon successfully deals damage to its chosen creature type, you may deal an additional d6. Now, I believe the intention is that when you get foe slaying, you make the choice, and the choice cannot be changed afterwards. I believe that's the intention, but the way it's written, it sounds like you make the choice. The user of the weapon may choose one type of creature. What kind of action does it take? Is it a standard action to have a dragon slaying sword? Is it a standard action to have a celestial slaying sword? Is it a bonus action? Is it a move action? If the intention is not to have a sword that can change its foe slaying, then it should be a choice that cannot be changed once made. And it should state that. It doesn't state that. If you could change as a free action, can you change in between attacks? If you can, then it's like you might as well have just added a d6 to the damage and left it at that.
Yes.
So I'm not sure about foe slaying. You know, it's another one that I think I understand the intention, but it doesn't seem to be written with that intention exactly in mind. It's a little open ended, which is never fun to deal with if you have if you're a GM and you have like hard headed players that like to creatively interpret the rules to their benefit no matter what. Now, incapacitating. Incapacitating, you can freely choose to deal force damage. When a creature is dropped to 0, they're not dead, they're incapacitated. That's really cool. However, force damage is incredibly powerful. Think about that. How many creatures do you know in the monster manual that are either immune or resistant to force damage? Off the top of my head, I can think of none. Ruinous. Again, I think I understand the intention, but it's not explicitly written with that intention. It reads, you may choose a single resistance to a physical or magical damage type. Lists the types, and then continues to say, this weapon ignores those resistances. This weapon is not considered magical for the sake of other resistances. It doesn't say it takes an action. It doesn't say it takes a bonus action, reaction, move action. And it doesn't say that once the choice is made, it cannot be unmade or changed. I think the intention is that when you get it, you make the choice and you're stuck with it. But it does not read explicitly that way. Now, the biggest thing that I have is the arcanic weapon feature. As an action, you can channel your spell casting into this weapon, allowing it to carry a single spell, and release it on your next successful melee attack. That's pretty clear. Upon your next successful melee attack, you deal your normal weapon damage as well as the effects of the spell you have stored within it. That is bonkers. Bonkers. Think about that. If you hit with a melee attack, you just deal the spell's damage. Alright? Meaning, if you have a spell that requires a save, Doesn't matter. You hit your target, you deal the effects. So, if you cast poison spray, which I will be doing, into your sword, when you hit with your sword just automatically deals an additional d12 damage, and that damage scales with your levels. I'll be playing a CJakcs that's level 10, so I'll be doing an additional 2d12 damage. 2d12 damage with one weapon attack. That's not too crazy, but take into account the Eldritch Knight. One of the first features an Eldritch Knight gets is the ability to make a melee weapon attack as a bonus action when they use their action to cast a cantrip. So in one round, I can cast a cantrip into my weapon and then use my weapon attack to attack with my weapon, potentially hitting with the weapon, dealing the weapon attack damage and the spell effects, all in the same round. Now, if the intention was to, as a preparation, you can channel a spell into the weapon. Channeling a spell into a weapon is not spell casting. You're not casting the spell. So with that wording, it means that it would not benefit from that Eldritch Knight class feature. However, you channel your spell casting into that particular weapon. So you're casting a spell. So you get the bonus. Now, that's already bananas. But there's also no limit. It doesn't stipulate how long it can hold on to that spell. So theoretically, even if you have to wait a long rest to recharge your spell slots, you can charge a spell up to a spell level equal or lower than your proficiency bonus into your weapon. Take an 8-hour nap, get your spell slot back, and then you just have it in your weapon in preparation for combat. That's bonkers. Out of this world. Personally, I love it. To me, that feels powerful and also rewarding if you take the time to do that kind of thing. But wow. So what they're telling me is I can cast Scorching Ray into my weapon, take a long rest as an Eldritch Knight, get that spell slot back, and my weapon is charged with Scorching Ray, which at the base level does 2 Scorching Rays, each dealing 2d8 fire damage when the attack lands. Being that whenever I hit with the melee attack that's charged with a spell in this fashion, the target automatically suffers the effects of the spell. That's an additional 4d6 fire damage on that hit. Take a moment to think about this. Say you take the great weapon master feat, right? And push it even further if you have 2 feats, if you're a human or you're high enough level, and take the charger feat. You prepare your weapon in this fashion ahead of time. Combat begins. You manage to go first. You charge an enemy. You take the -5 to your attack roll. If you hit with that attack roll and are wielding a greatsword charged in this fashion, and let's say you have a reasonable strength of only 13, right? 16. You have a +3 to your strength. Only 16. So you have a +3 to your strength, but yet you're dealing +5 because of Charger and +10 because of Great Weapon Master. So that's a total of an additional 18 points of damage on your charge. That's a lot. Now normally you'd only roll your 2d6 for your greatsword. 2d6 plus 18 is not totally bonkers. It is a heavy, hard, just vicious hit. But now think about the spell in the weapon that triggers when you hit with this copper boon. you could deal 6d6 plus 18 total damage. And it just gets worse. It gets heavier and harder and more insane. Insane. Could you imagine channeling a fireball into that weapon? Now, the fireball doesn't explode, it doesn't go off. It just states that the target is affected by the spell. So, if only the target is affected by the spell, that makes casting fireball a little bit more safe. Fireball, I believe, does 8d6 fire damage. Alright, so they just suffer 8d6 fire damage. Plus your 2d6 for your greatsword. 10d6 damage plus all other insane bonuses. Completely bonkers. Like this, I'm stuck on this. And I mean, the rest of them are really nice. Like, they're written really well, and they can't be completely abused within the way that they're written, because they're like, no, we're here. But this writing, some of these are just bananas. Bananas. There's one copper boon that allows you to make one melee attack against all adjacent enemies. Alright, one melee attack against every single adjacent enemy. If you have the copper boon that allows you to make an additional attack when you drop a target to 0, and possibly even Great Weapon Master, and you're wielding, you know, your great sword or great axe or whatever it is, you could potentially just spin around like a hurricane, killing everything. Everything. If that is the intent, you guys nailed it. Oh my god. If that is not the intent, and the intent was a little bit more subtle than that, I'm sorry, but you could create things that will kill just about anything with the CJakcs supplement. Some of these things are seriously bananas, especially when combined with each other, with character options, feats, character classes. Bananas. God, imagine a paladin warlock of vengeance. Pallylock of vengeance becoming a CJakcs and then taking that archaic weapon thing. So you recharge your spells, you recharge your warlock spell slots on short rests, and you can expend your paladin spell slots for smiting and your channel divinity to gain advantage on attacks against one target. Golly, man. Golly. Just saying. Just saying. Son of a bitch. It is insane. I like it. I like it. But then again, I've been writing a cartoon thing that's meant to be insane. I don't know if this is meant to be that insane. Anyway, I've been rambling on for like, how long? Half hour already? I need to shut the hell up. So, I'm going to do that. My name is Nelson. This has been Infinite Roleplay, talking about the CJakcs and how OP they freaking are. Peace.